Hello and welcome everybody to the most exciting session for today, according to me at least. And I have Pip with me who is going to take us through stand out in SaaS with amazing messaging for your B2B brand. I'm not going to take time away from Pip, so I will leave it over to you. But I would want to encourage the audience to ask questions because, of course, Pip is going to take us through his presentation and tell us everything about B2B messaging. But of course, he will find some time to answer your questions. So make sure you drop them in the Q&A panel so it's easy for him to find it. And I shall see you towards the end of the clock. Pip, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, hi, guys. My name is Pep. I'm Pep Laja. I'm the CEO of Winter. And we're going to be talking about messaging and how to win with messaging. And so, how does it work? So, the main thing I want us to agree on that messaging is not separate from business strategy. And what I mean by that is that let's say you have a differentiation problem. It's not that you can go on your homepage and change the copy to sound more different. No. Or maybe your problem is that you're too generic. You're for everyone. And it's not like, oh, let's fix this problem by going on your homepage and say, now we are for B2B SaaS marketers and problem solved. No, you need to change the strategy first because messaging is only a reflection of the strategy. So first you need to decide that we're going to be differentiating like this, change the whole company, and then messaging just reflects that. Or we're going to go after B2B SaaS marketers. That impacts how your product works, how the whole go-to-market engine, all of that stuff. So messaging is you can't change just messaging and hope that something will change. The whole business needs to change. And my view on how these all things come together is like, well, first of all, there's strategy. It's where to play and how to win, which channels who are we selling to, and why we will win. And then there's narrative and a point of view and positioning. And now we get to messaging. And the way I define messaging is like, what are the most important things? Like 3 things we want the target customer to know about us. And then writing copy is how you actually say that using words. So messaging is like ideas, right? So, but what is the problem with messaging? Is in general in B2B companies, like what is the number one problem with messaging? And I think it's this: everybody can read and write, and so they think it's whatever, it's unimportant. Because I can write words, why should we invest in it? It seems so trivial, so basic. And then, of course, if you discuss messaging inside your team, if you've ever been to in one of those discussions, you know what happens. Like everybody has an opinion, and usually, the highest paid person's opinion wins, or it's messaging through committee decision making, which results in like Frankenstein messaging. So I think that is the biggest problem with messaging. But do the words even matter? So does it matter what are 3 key ideas, 3 key messages on a homepage are? Does it matter? And absolutely it matters. In fact, if you would remove every single word from your website, it's like removing beard from Jason Momoa. The conversion rate will go to 0, right? The words are the most important part of your website. No words, nobody will buy anything, right? And nobody wants that guy anymore. Okay, so words really matter, and everybody thinks they're a genius writer, and that's not the case. But of course, a homepage or a central marketing messaging, where there's a lot of places where we can put words like about page and features page and pricing page, or a homepage. Like, where does messaging matter the most? And there are there are 2 key areas where messaging matters the most based on a big research we did at Winter. So basically, we surveyed B2B SaaS decision makers on how do they buy software. And what we found out is, number one, most important things is shortlisting battles. And what do I mean by shortlisting battles? So the thing is that 42% of buyers, when they think, oh, I need a CRM, I need an email marketing tool, like what, they have a problem to solve. They're looking for a tool. They're looking to change their vendors. If they do that, 42% already know which vendors they're going to consider. Oh, so if it's CRM, I'm going to do HubSpot and Salesforce and Pipedrive and maybe one weird one. Or 58% of the people ask their buddies, their peers, hey, what are you using for that? What's your cloud hosting and so on. So people have a short list already inside their mind. So when they come to your website, actually, when they schedule a demo with you, 91% already know most everything there is to know about your tool. They're not like, oh, so never seen your tool before. Thought I'll waste 30 minutes, you telling me about your tool. No, everybody already knows. They have very specific questions, right? That's a key thing. And so all that self-education happens without talking to any salespeople. But the most important thing to remember here is that your average buyer only schedules 3 demos. So they start with a bigger short list. Oh, I think Salesforce and HubSpot and blah, blah, blah. They ask their buddies. They have 10 companies. Now they look at the websites of these 10 companies, and they decide which 3 to get a demo with. And it's probably Salesforce, HubSpot, and then maybe 1 spot is left with the company with the best messaging, right? The implications are huge. So number one thing your website needs to do is to make a case for why get a demo with us, right? And we already know that the category leader is definitely going to get a demo. And second thing where messaging matters the most is conversion. So look, if you have a product-led motion, they can sign up for something, or maybe even if it's a webinar page or whatever, they can instantly sign up. So it's the bottom line conversions. What is the best way to get somebody to sign up for your thing? It is to make them want to sign up for your thing. Increase motivation to sign up for your thing. Right? How do you do that? Words. Words are the only thing in the world that can increase their motivation to take action. So it's how you communicate your value prop. You're communicating their life with your tool, right? You are painting a picture of how now that these problems that you have will be solved, and what's the impact of that. So they're like, oh, I'd like some of that. Like you see all these AI video editing tools that are now propping up, like, oh, I can fire Jim. Like, I hate Jim. Fuck yeah. Fuck Jim. Like now I can just do the video editing in 3 minutes. Like that's like the dream I want to buy, right? My value proposition, my motivation to take action goes up. All right, so but at the very same time, there's never been as much competition as there is today. In every single category, there are hundreds of tools, and in your subcategory, you have probably like 20 direct competitors. Like you've all seen this chart, the Martech map. In Martech alone, if you look at any subcategory, which is like a marketing automation, there are many tens of direct competitors in every category. And if you don't have direct competitors, maybe you're creating something new and awesome, or maybe you're just stupid, right? So that's the background, right? Like so much competition, it's nuts. And not just that, the competition is that whoever managed to get the biggest first in any set category will remain there for a really, really long time, probably forever, right? How long? Like Amazon became the biggest in e-commerce, 30 years. It's been 30 years. They're still the king. Bezos himself said maybe 15 years ago, what is the end of Amazon? Oh, it will go out of business. Like a newcomer will come, but 30 years later, Amazon is still the king, right? Salesforce is still the king, all that stuff, right? If you're a CRM taking on HubSpot and Salesforce, good luck, buddy, right? Also, there's a double jeopardy law, meaning that the bigger the brand, the more famous the brand, like your HubSpot, the more word of mouth you get. People are more loyal, they churn less. And if you're a little nobody talks about you, and they churn like motherfuckers, right? So maybe you don't see the screen here, but basically every day you see somebody on LinkedIn say, hey, what CRM are you using? Or which CRM I should use? It's always use HubSpot, use Salesforce. It's never the CRM number 47. Like nobody said that guy. Or the founder of the CRM number 47 was, use my easy, simple CRM.com. Yeah, everybody else will say HubSpot. And so if you're not HubSpot, the odds are against us, right? It's really tough. So think about it. If they only get demos with 3 companies and they're going to look into maybe 10 in any set category, and you want to be one of the 3 they get a demo with, like, oh my God, what a hard work. So to get inside the consideration set, the first 10 they would even look at, like, that's hard. That's job number 1. So first we got to get into the 10 websites they're going to browse. And how do we do that? So, I mean, it's a myth that the B2B buyer is all rational. Oh, they go to G2, or there are 47 tools in this category. Let's like look at their feature pages and print out and do like feature comparison chart. Come on, nobody does that. It's like, hey, what's gym music? Yeah, let's go with that. That sounds good to me. People are fucking lazy. We know this. So they're not rational, right? They're not looking into every tool. So they're asking Jim, and so we need to get into Jim's head. So we say, hey, Jim, what do you like? And Jim says, our tool, right? That's what we need to do. So 3 ways to get inside the consideration set. Only 3. So number 1 is innovation. You're doing something new that nobody else is doing, and that new thing is something that solves it has to be amazing, right? It's like you cannot come up with some new useless shit, right? So you guys remember Jasper? So Jasper came out before OpenAI released ChatGPT. They were the first to get the API, and then they bought up every other company that OpenAI gave their API to. So it was the first tool to use to write blog posts and sales copy, and like use AI for content writing. It was the first one, and it went from $0 in revenue to 50 million ARR in 3 months. 3 months, right? And then it raised a seed round of one, at a $1.5 billion valuation a year later or something. Of course, now things have changed. Now things have changed, right? Like a lot more competition, and so on and so forth. But through innovation, everybody suddenly started thinking about Jasper when it came to AI. Oh, it's Jasper, like, and still to this day, it has a bunch of mind share. So if we're looking at what's an AI content writing tool I can use, I guarantee that Jasper is in the 5 tools companies are gonna look at. So it's lasting effect, even though Jasper has 0 innovation now, right? Because it's just a wrapper for OpenAI now. All right. So innovation. Second thing is money. You spend more on advertising than your direct competitors. And if you do this consistently, your market share will grow. This is facts. Look into any category. It's ketchup, it's furniture, it's cars. You can supermarkets and B2B SaaS, right? It's the same everywhere. So case in point, Monday.com. Now, like one of the biggest ones, like they just crossed $1 billion in revenue, annual revenue, right? It's crazy. Extremely successful company. Now, when they entered the CRM, whatever task management market, it was already saturated. Asana was already huge, and all that stuff. So what they did was they outspent everybody else by a huge margin. Like there was a time when you couldn't go to YouTube without seeing their ad. They bought the whole ad inventory. And on this little chart, you probably can't see it, but like there's a line for their revenue, which is the top line per quarter. And there's a line for sales and marketing, which is like the 6th or 7th line from the top. Every single quarter, when they were trying to break into this category, they spent more on advertising than their whole revenue. Of course, VC money is a nice thing to have in this case, right? And it worked. Now, if you're like, oh, I need a task management tool, what do you look? I look at ClickUp, I look at Asana, I look at Monday.com. They bought their way into our consideration set. It totally worked, and they're making bank, right? But a third way to get inside a consideration set is through positioning and messaging. Now, this is basically the only way that is attainable for most everyone out in here, right? Like, so what the research study I told you, how buyers buy software, all that stuff. Basically, what we learned, and this is all the data I have from Winter. Like, it's a message testing company, so I see all the time how the messages go. Buyers want to know, can you solve my highly specific problems? So if you solve generic problems like grow revenue, nobody has. I mean, yes, everybody has a grow revenue problem, but nobody's looking to solve how to grow my revenue. They have much more specific problems, right? So they want to know, can you solve this? And they're going to compare you directly to the competitors, and not just any competitors, but the Salesforce of your category. How are you different and or better than Salesforce, than HubSpot, than Monday.com? And if you can't articulate it, you're dead. You don't get the demo. You're not one of the three. And you won't even know this, because the shortlisting battle happens on your website without talking to anybody. I mean, if you have live chat on your website, somebody might ask a question. If it's like, oh, get a quote, talk to sales, forget about it, right? So that's where messaging comes in. So my number one advice to you is, you have to spell out the differentiation you have against the status quo, and you gotta name that enemy. So Omnisend is the number two tool in the Klaviyo category. Look, I don't even need to say what the category is. I say Klaviyo category, and you all probably already know, unless you've been living under a rock for the last decade. So, and what does Omnisend, marketing automation tool, what do they say on their homepage? And bear in mind, if I go to G2 and I look at email, e-commerce, email marketing automation tool, how many other? G2 says that there are like 500. So 500 competitors, one really big gorilla. And Omnisend says, send email and SMS that really sell. And we have like newsletters and abandoned carts and blah, 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 and cheesy stock photos. Every single tool in their category says that. Like, what are you thinking? How are you better and or different from Klaviyo? And they're cheaper. If I was Omnisend, I'd say we have exact same features as Klaviyo, but you pay 50% less. Now that's a hell of a value proposition in my opinion. Right? Yes, I do have a podcast, How to Win, Peep Laja, Google me. All right, so the thing about how people think about, your average SaaS company thinks about differentiation is that, yes, we want to be different, but in a way that's not different at all, right? So, so we're an email marketing tool, and we have every single feature that everybody else has. So what can we say? And we're Omnisend, we say, oh, you make more money with Omnisend. Got it. That's a great point of differentiation. And so now I go to G2 marketing automation and look at the SMB segment, because Omnisend sells to SMBs. Who are their top competitors and what do they say? Interesting, right? Okay, number one is HubSpot. Grow better with HubSpot. Exactly same as like make more money with Omnisend, grow better with HubSpot. MailChimp says turn emails into revenue. Brevo, grow with our email marketing. Next, Active Campaign, power your growth with marketing automation. Oh my God. Bird, maximize the ROI of email marketing. Drive more revenue with email marketing. It's just like, you can't make this shit up. Everybody is exactly like that cartoon. They're different in the exact same way. Oh, look at that. Insider, something different. Cross-channel customer experience. Oh, maybe these guys differentiate. Oh, look at the customer.io. Personalized journeys across all channels. Maybe not. Contact pigeon. Send perfect line, omni-channel person. You see, there may be two kinds of ways to be different in the email marketing category, but like another 50 companies differentiate in the exact same way. So extra homework for you. Go to G2, pull out the category and the segment where you are in, and just go through the home pages. Probably you differentiate in the exact same way as everybody else. So you got to name the default. Who's the default in your category? Is it Salesforce, HubSpot, Klaviyo? Whoever is the king, you got to say, okay, we're like Klaviyo, but cheaper. We have more integrations. We have these features. We have these whatever. We cater to this segment that they don't care about. We understand the specific needs of realtors. It needs to be differentiation that they care about. It's like, oh, we donate 1% to charity. Like, nobody gives a fuck. So, it needs to be meaningful differentiation, not some marketing bullshit, right? Because like people can see through marketing bullshit and it's not believable. It's like, insulting our intelligence. So we'll look at so who is really different. So Hey is really different by naming the big giants. So Hey is, you know, the email marketing by Basecamp guys, and they say, oh, Gmail, Outlook, and Apple got complacent. They're naming the giants. They're naming who they're replacing, and now they're saying how they are different and or better. And of course, the way they differentiate against Gmail is not that it will win everybody over. That's the whole point of segmentation and winning market share. You will win over people who care about that point of differentiation. Oh, we don't. Well, I think they said at one point, like, Google reads more of your email than you do. You know, like that's the differentiation. Like, and we don't read your email. You know, we don't store the data. Things like that. Or another way to compare yourself to the competition. So let's say that you don't want to name competitors. Okay, you want to compare yourself then to general alternatives. So this concept is called relative value table. So like my company is Winter. If you go to winter.com, you can see how I do it. Alternatives to Winter. And I say you can go to panel companies, you can go to user testing platforms, you can go to market research agencies. So these are all alternatives to using Winter. And now for each of these cases, I make a case of in which case I'm a better option. I mean, there is definitely a company who's better served by using a market research agency, right? And then I make a case of like, when am I not? So again, it will not convert and convince everybody, just some people who care about those advantages that I have, right? Another way to go about this is to position yourself against competition is like you create a new consideration set. So like, and the way I think about consideration sets, it's like job to be done boxes. So Hotjar is heat maps and session replays for SMBs. So that's its own, you know, segment. Or CXL is like online courses for marketers, right? It's its own. It's not competing with Udemy because Udemy is courses for everybody from knitting to crocheting to do AI, and CXL is just marketing, right? It's like you put yourself in a box where you can be the default maybe, or at least you can be a top 3 brand. Like CXL is a tiny, Udemy is like 1.4 billion in revenue or something, and CXL is like much less than that. So you create a smaller box. So if somebody's looking for that specific thing, they might consider you. And in terms of Winter, there's an older version of our homepage. We are in a box where we don't have direct competition, which is why I said I compare myself with what people do in general instead of using us. Audience Plus is another company that is relatively new. Like basically, it's like if you want to create a media company, that's all the rage in B2B. Audience Plus is a tool that helps you do that. And in the same way, they don't have a direct competition yet, so now they need to sell the idea of like why use this tool to begin with. User Gems is an interesting one where for the longest time they used to be the only game in town for like, oh, track your champion job changes, and of course now there's a bunch of tools doing the same thing. So if you are starting out and you find like where you can be the only one doing what you're doing, like milk that as long as you can. So then over time you become the top dog. So now it's a small subcategory of track champion job changes, and User Gems is now the default. They're the king of that small subcategory, right? Follow me? Now, thinking about your messaging and the one that you have on your homepage that you're communicating to the world, it's probably shit. And if it is, the odds are very good that you wouldn't know it, because the symptoms of ineffective messaging aren't easy to spot. You can't just eyeball it. I mean, yes, it can be so brutally bad that it's obviously bad. But most messaging is not that bad. Most is like, it's very mediocre, but you look at it, it's fine. It looks fine. It's all right, right? Until you put it in front of the actual people you're trying to market to, and then they'll tell you what the problem is. So your website is like you're on a sales call, but the prospect that you're pitching is on mute and their video is off. Right? You can't see them, you can't hear them, and you're like, oh, so they can't answer any question. You can't ask anything. So our tool does this and this, and we're very good with this and the other thing, and we have these features, and you're wondering, oh my God, am I boring this person to death? Like, do they even care about what I'm saying? Right? On sales call, it will be extremely weird. You would never want to, you would refuse to take a sales call when you need to pitch somebody without hearing anything back. But this is your website. You have blah, blah, blah. You're saying blah, 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 blah towards your prospect. You can't ask any questions. You don't see their face. The guy there is rolling their eyes really hard. They're laughing at your shitty copy, and you don't even know. You don't even know, right? And so what is the remedy to this? The remedy to this is message testing. So how can we tell if our messaging works, right? We need a way to measure it. So conversion, somebody signing up to your thing, somebody scheduling the demo, that's the effect. Somebody shortlists you, that's the effect. But what is the cause? What about our messaging is the cause? So messaging is the cause. As I said, like the best way to get somebody to take action is to make them want to take action. That's messaging, that's copy, right? And so how do we do that? So basically there are 4 components to this. They need to clarity, like they need to get it. So instead of using mumbo jumbo B2B jargon language, use simple language. You just explain what the tool is, what it does. Relevance means who is it for or what problem does it solve? And value then is the most important part, is the value proposition. It's the promised land. It's like, this is us increasing their motivation to take action. And finally, once they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great, I'm interested in learning more, but how's it different from HubSpot? And that's where most B2B websites fail. They don't say. They're pretending that they're the only one doing what they're doing, and that is not the case, right? So look at Copper. Copper is a CRM. Win clients for life with Copper. What's the differentiation? Well, what even is it? If I already told you it's a CRM, but they don't say that. You know, it's pretty clarity is terrible, differentiation is terrible, all that stuff. Actually, if you go to one of their sub pages, which is not the homepage, they say, oh, they're CRM for Google Workspace. So if you're a Google Workspace customer already, we're perfect. We fit right in. Hello, clear and compelling and differentiated against HubSpot and Salesforce. Why don't you just say that? As opposed to, what did they say? Win clients for life. How bad is this? Win clients for life. And do we believe? Oh, by using Copper, we will feel. If we believe, all of us would be using Copper. Do I want clients for life? Sure, I do. Just use Copper, clients for life. No, it's bullshit. We don't believe this. It's a crappy message, right? Do we believe CRM for Workspace? What's not to believe? It's a fact. Sure, I believe it. Clear, compelling, trustworthy, right? And so on and so forth. Range. Because team communication shouldn't be all over the place. Oh, what? What is it? What does it replace? And looking at the screenshot, I know it's small, but like, is this like Slack? What do you mean team communication? Is it like Zoom? What does it, like, I can't even fathom what it is because they're not clear. They're trying to be clever and cute and sounds fancy, or manage projects across agencies and marketing. And because I'm presenting a PDF, what you fail to see is that the words agencies and marketing replace every 2 seconds for product, for SaaS, for e-commerce, for project management, for HR, for having a drink with your buddies. It's like it does everything for everybody, means that it speaks to nobody. And of course, it blinks very fast and shit changes. People are like, what the fuck? It's better. It's easier to just hit the back button and leave, right? So a lot of companies try to be too many things at once, to speak to too many audiences at once. Don't do that, right? Like, and of course, we have multiple ICPs and maybe we have multiple products. But even if you go to like classic multi-product company websites, I think Salesforce right now, if you go, they're really pushing you just one product, which is, I think, the Salesforce for startups or SMBs, one of those. And of course, they're all 7 gazillion products or somewhere on the website, but like they're prioritizing. So if you have multiple products, if you have multiple ICPs, prioritize. Make it about the one thing. And of course, there are sub pages for all the other shit in there. So 97% of B2B websites would perform much better if they just sounded like nobody else. Is that too much to ask? So talking to the customer in a simple language so they get what it is and for whom it is. Like, is it for me? That's just take it to the playground. This is just kindergarten stuff, right? We shouldn't even be talking about clarity, right? So the way to go about messaging is like lead with a headline that only you can write. Very hard. I know it's very hard. And for instance, this is the headline of winter. Now it's something else. But this, only we could write that headline. State your onlyness in the value prop above the fold. Don't make them scroll to find how you are different, right? So retention by B2B, retention.com, B2B product, person level website visitor identity. They say this is like the onlyness, right? Like companies can tell you that Clearbet can tell you that somebody from Salesforce visited from San Francisco was on your website. They'll tell you who it is, right? And then in terms of how to differentiate, one way to do this is unless your product is actually differentiated, you lean into something that they don't want to copy, like your personality. Maybe you're over the board weirdo. And weird, who wants to be weird in B2B SaaS? People are fucking scared to be weird, right? Not this guy, Ling. Link's Cars, maybe you've seen it. It's been shown in so many presentations. But the Link's Cars, it's a real website. It's a car leasing website. And actually, this is a PDF. Otherwise, everything is blinking and whatever. It's weird. It's the most unique car leasing website in the world. If your SaaS website looked like that, believe me, you'd be so differentiated. Everybody on LinkedIn would be talking about you. But I also have a bet. You're not brave enough to do it, right? So here's my challenge to you. Be brave enough to be weird. Nobody will copy you. You will be differentiated. They will know why you took it to demo with you. All right. Peace out. Thank you, everybody. This was my presentation. And maybe we have time for questions.
Thank you so much, Pep. We had an amazing time in the chat. It was on fire. I am so sorry, but we do not have time for questions. But I will get the
Connect with
question.
me on LinkedIn. Just DM me your questions if you have any follow-ups. I'm on LinkedIn. Nobody else by my name. Send me a connection request and tell me that it's from Rev Genius, so I know.
Thank you so much once again. And I will end the session now.